on that.
Point of order, Speaker. Please recognize us.
House recognize us.
As well as this parliament.
Oh, where's the cow now?
Speaker, where is money? Where is the money?
On the place I'm telling him to come. Wait.
Woman and child.
Speaker, this which you are doing right now is out of
A point of order.
you are in breach of parliamentary rules. You can't you can't sit there and pretend like you are not talking on the talking. We need to go to jail, Ramaphosa. And pretend like we're not speaking here on the platform. Not allowed to do what you are doing. What is
Can we
no, do not mute us. You have no right to mute us and pretend like we're not talking here on the platform.
And the parliament to song.
There was a long list.
Speaker.
Busy
women.
I will
GPV in the house of
busy bouncers.
No, the list you have given us, we have pretended to be talk too fast.
No. I just want
these
platform.
Point of order, Speaker.
On a point of order.
Busy bouncers. They can hear.
On a point of order, Speaker.
People will raise their hand on the platform.
Please allow us to speak. We have raised hands.
Listen to the president finish his speech.
Ramaphosa open parliament.
Speaker, my hand is up.
Yes, Honorable
Ramaphosa.
Please allow us to speak. Our hands are up.
Speaker, the head of
Speaker, can we please speak?
Honorable Tambo is
Please
more than 40 million. And you are not allowing
the majority of people
Money launderer. It's a 20.
On a point of order.
The parliament Ramaphosa is not speaking here.
Busy bouncers.
Busy bouncers. This was
Thank you, Honorable Mazzoni. Honorable members, table staff, I have directed you to mute all the people who are on the platform. Only allow them to raise their hands, only, but not to speak when they are not recognized. Now, that does not affect the people who are in the chamber. The people who are in the chamber, there is no way we've muted you. It is not true. But I have pleaded with you as honorable members, as leaders of society, that you now allow for the president to present his budget vote. And if you feel very strongly about raising issues with him, you will have an opportunity this afternoon to raise those issues when you debate his speech. That's what I'm saying. That is my ruling, honorable members. So I will not allow anyone now, from now onwards until the president finishes, I will not allow anyone to raise a point of order, because unfortunately the points of order are frivolous. Thank you very much, honorable members. You may proceed, the Honorable Mr. President.
I don't know about that. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I was saying, the people of our country must come first in everything that we do. And the greatest disservice we can do to our people at this difficult time in the life of our nation, is to become distracted from the task that is at hand. The challenges that we face as a country are many. We are still in the grip of a devastating pandemic that has caused over 100,000 reported deaths in our country. Poverty, unemployment, and underdevelopment continues to cast a heavy cloud, and these are preventing millions of our people from leading lives of dignity and better lives. In recent times, we are having to deal with another problem, which is the rising cost of living. Cost of fuel has gone up. Food, utilities like water and electricity has made it increasingly difficult for the majority of our people to get by and to pay their bills and also to feed their children and families. We continue to count the cost of last year's July unrest in parts of the country and the human and economic impact of recent floods in KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape and the Northwest as well. These are the issues that we are seized with as government because they are the bread and butter issues that have always mattered the most to our people. As the great revolutionary Amilcar Cabral once reminded the liberation movements of post-independent Africa, he said, "The people are not fighting for the ideas, for the things in anyone's head. They are fighting to win material benefits, to live better, and to live in peace, to see their lives go forward, and to guarantee the future of their children," close quote. What the people of South Africa want above all is to see their quality of life improving. They do not care about the political squabbles, the competition between political parties, the intrigues, the plots, and the rivalries. They are least concerned about that. They want better basic services. They want jobs and opportunities to better themselves and to better the lives of their families. They want to live, they want to study, they want to work in environments free of crime and violence. Amidst our challenges, there is cause for some optimism that is looming on the horizon. The economy is beginning to show positive signs of recovery. These signs may not be sufficient to lift all boats. I present this presidency vote in the week that Stats SA announced that in the first quarter of 2022, our economy grew by 1.9%. And clearly, we all know that that is not sufficient. We want to see a much higher growth rate for our economy. The growth that we have, however, experienced in recent quarters has brought the economy to pre-pandemic levels, much sooner than analysts had expected. But we all know we want to see a much higher level of growth. Indeed, real GDP is slightly higher than what it was before the pandemic. This recovery is consistent across most of the major sectors of the economy, such as manufacturing, trade, utilities, finance, personal services, mining, as well as agriculture. Our trade figures show further evidence of economic recovery if we care to look at indicators like that. In 2021, we posted the largest trade surplus on record of 448 billion rand, the highest that we have posted since 1987. Last week, the latest quarterly labor force survey was released, showing that the number of unemployed people in the country dropped in the first 3 months of 2022. I will, however, be pleased when I see these labor quarterly surveys indicating a much higher level of employment creation. What they showed translates to 370,000 jobs created between the last quarter of 2021 and the first quarter of this year. We all want to see a much, much bigger number of people getting into employment. Madam Speaker, I also present this budget vote in the year that the 4th South African Investment Conference raised investment pledges to the value of 332 billion rand. Now, these are pledges, and we have seen some of these pledges being realized into real investment. And we do forever have hope that a number of these pledges will indeed turn into real investments. And I have been to places where I have seen how companies that made pledges in various conferences that we have held have actually turned them into real investment. This does bring us within reach of the target we set in 2018 of attracting 1.2 trillion rand in investment over a 5-year period. The outcome of the conference shows renewed business and investor confidence in our economy and in our reform process. I would argue that many of these businesses who have come to these investment conferences would not be declaring their intention to invest further or indeed to invest in greenfield projects if they did not have confidence that we have indeed embarked on a reform process that can make their investments viable. In recent weeks, there's also been encouraging progress by law enforcement authorities in pursuing cases from state capture era. We've all read about some of these initiatives that they are making. These are the green shoots of recovery, but also of progress. These are the signs that we are indeed on the right track. Of course, many people may argue that we are not, but I can definitely say that the country is beginning to move in the right track direction. This should give us hope and confidence to forge ahead. We are not standing in one place, and we are moving forward. Honorable members, since the 6th administration took office in 2019, we've been seized with restoring state capacity and with forging whole of society partnerships with business, with labor and civil society on the actions that are needed to rebuild our economy. Building a capable state and restoring integrity and professionalism in the public service has been our foremost priority. What we have sought to do over the past 4 years is really to locate the presidency at the center of an integrated government, a government working together across all the various structures that are in our state. From this center, we've been leading the drive to reconstruct the nation's economy in a manner that is inclusive, a manner that leaves no one behind. In this year's State of the Nation address, I outlined our key priorities for the year that lies ahead. These priorities are to grow the economy and to create jobs, to fight corruption, make communities safer, build better lives for all our people, and make government work for the people of our country. We've been doing all this while working to ensure a swift recovery from COVID-19 pandemic and mitigating the impact of the recent floods that we have experienced. At the heart of our growth strategy is a bold and far-reaching economic reform agenda. These reforms are being driven by the relevant government departments as well as agencies and supported by Operation Vulindlela, which is an initiative in the presidency and our treasury. These reforms aim to achieve an affordable and reliable supply of electricity and efficient freight transport, amongst other things. They aim to achieve long-term water security for our country and our people, cheaper mobile data for all South Africans, and a visa regime that
Honourable
facilitates
Speaker, on a point of order.
tourism and investment.
Honourable Speaker, on a point of order.
Honorable member, you have just stepped in and I have just made a ruling that I will not allow anyone to make a point of order because we've taken an hour.
But our members in the platform are
Point.
muted, Speaker.
Everybody's muted.
Can you please unmute them?
Thank you.
Because you unmuted our members.
Thank you.
They are participating, so unmute them. There's no problem. Your ruling is right, but just unmute them there in the platform.
Honorable member. Honorable member. You've just,
Speaker.
Honorable member, switch off your microphone.
Unmute our members in the
Will
platform.
you please switch off your microphone?
Are you going to unmute them?
Switch off.
Are you going to unmute them?
Sergeant at arms, I'm now warning you.
No, citizens' arms for what?
I'm now
For what?
honorable.
You're ruling from the air. Just from the air, no ruling like that.
Matulelo.
Unmute our members, then I will sit here. I will sit here.
I now
No sergeant
want you.
harm to come to me.
Sergeant
You must
in
never
arms.
come to me.
Sergeant
Just
at
unmute
arms.
our members in the virtual platform, Honorable Speaker.
Will you please?
And you are not going to be addressed by a criminal. We are not going to be addressed by a money launderer. We are not going to be addressed by a criminal.
Honorable member, will you please withdraw that?
And I'm not leaving.
Please withdraw that, honorable
What are you
member.
going to do? I'm not leaving.
Thank you very much. Sergeant in arms, will you please remove the member from the house?
Unmute our members first. Asokukwakho apha. When you release her from the air, ubukota for what? Certain arms for what? Are they members of parliament, those are sergeant arms? No, I can't leave the chamber before they unmute our members in the platform. We are attending.
Thank you very much.
Attending here. This is our parliament, not for certain arms. This one is ours.
Thank you.
Asuzo address
Honorable
money
members,
launderer up.
I have given you a further opportunity.
There's no opportunity like this.
Comply
This
with
one
the
is not an
directives
opportunity.
of the
Give me
chair.
a real opportunity, speak.
Assisted by the sergeant.
This one
in
is not
arms.
an opportunity that you are giving me.
As this conduct is now directly impeding the ability of the House to conduct its business,
You must
I
first
now-
call the sergeant arms
I
to
now
take out the criminal
call-
first outside.
call
The money
the
launderer must be taken by the
Parliamentary
sergeant arms
Protection
outside. Then
terms
mna
of
and your
Rule
criminal mna
73.
apha andilosela azandi bulale bantu Americana mna azandi bulale bantu Americana ndiyombulali mna imbulali makathathe aswe phandle on my behalf. Ndiyacela president makuphume wena on my behalf.
Will you please close? Protection services, you are taking too long. Please remove the member from the house. I have read the rule under which she is
Don't
being
say
removed.
sorry for what? I excuse you for what?
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. May I just address Sergeant in Arms? Sergeant in Arms, when you have reported to me that they are refusing to leave the house, once I say now you may remove them, the PSS should move, the PPS must move with speed. Because what I've observed now is that they take too long to come in and do what they are expected to do. And in the course of that, they are delaying the House. Honorable Mr. President, you may continue with your speech.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Now, these reforms aimed on a long-term basis to ensure that there's water security in our country, there's cheaper mobile data for all South Africans, and that our visa regime, which has been raised repeatedly by various people, business and otherwise, facilitates tourism as well as investment. We are firmly on track to implement the reforms that we outlined in the State of the Nation address, and reforms that have been highlighted and even requested by a number of stakeholders in our economy, reforms that are necessary to inject growth in our economy. In March, the long-awaited spectrum auction was completed to expand access to the internet and to reduce the cost of data for the first time in more than a decade. This was a difficult and complex process, and we are grateful for all those who have been involved who made this possible. It took us a decade when it should have taken us much shorter. In April, bid window 6 of the Renewable Energy Procurement Program was opened for 2,600 megawatts of solar and wind power. The first 3 risk mitigation projects have signed their power purchase agreements. These projects represent some of the largest hybrid solar and battery storage projects in the world, and they are happening here in South Africa. The Electricity Regulation Amendment Bill that provides for the establishment of a separate transmission company and a competitive market for electricity has been published for comment, and we are now working to table the final version in Parliament in the coming months. We initiated this believing that it will enhance the better generation of electricity and the transmission thereof, and we will see much better electricity availability in our country. In April, Transnet made 16 slots on its network available to private rail operators as a first step towards ensuring third-party access to some of the country's freight lines. This will enable greater efficiency and support our export industries. And this, in the end, is going to be the private sector and the public sector working together and making sure that we do have a competitive transport line system. The Department of Water and Sanitation is hard at work to clear the backlog of water use license applications by June of 2022. To date, it has finalized 897 applications and will clear the remaining 546 applications by the end of this month. Now, these applications had accumulated over a number of years, and the reform process that we have embarked upon is clearing all these backlogs and making sure that our water regulation system works much better. And through this, we will be able to unlock levers of the economy to enable growth to follow. We are on the cusp of a fundamental transformation in the electricity sector, which is undergoing the most significant reform process in our country's history. Once these changes are implemented, we will have multiple generators competing to supply electricity at the lowest cost to the consumer and selling power directly to consumers. We will unleash new public and private sector investment in generation at a massive scale. In the short term, however, we are seized with the need to get as much new generation capacity onto the grid as possible, but also as quickly as possible. The current electricity shortfall is estimated at up to 6,000 megawatts. We will soon be introducing extra measures to bring new capacity online. We will work to close the electricity gap in 6 ways. Firstly, we will improve the performance of existing power stations and ensure that additional units at Medupi, Kusile come online according to schedule. Secondly, we'll ensure that projects from existing procurement, including Bed Window 5, are able to reach, close, and connect to the grid as quickly as possible. Thirdly, we will accelerate private sector investment in generation under 100 megawatts. Fourthly, we will enable Eskom to purchase surplus power from existing power producers without too many regulations that stop this from happening. Fifthly, we will support municipalities to procure power independently without much regulation standing in their way. And sixthly, we will encourage households and businesses to invest in small-scale solar power installations themselves to feed energy that they are not using to the grid as well. Now, Honorable Speaker, work is already underway in each of these areas. There is coordination with all relevant departments, with Eskom and the private sector to accelerate embedded generation projects that are already on the way to being implemented. We have already simplified the registration process by removing the requirement of a power purchase agreement for registration. We've also shortened the time frames for environmental authorization and increased Eskom's capacity to process grid connection applications. And all these impediments were standing in the way of enabling those who want to generate energy to move ahead with their projects. Now, the reform process has taken out all those impediments, and we are now going to move forward with greater speed and greater determination. The first 2 embedded generation projects under 100 megawatts were successfully registered 2 weeks ago and a further 16 projects were registered by the regulator this very week. A total of 68 projects are now in development, and a combined capacity of over 5,000 megawatts that will begin to connect to the grid over the next few months is also what we look forward to. Now, alongside these immediate interventions, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy will drive the process of reviewing and updating our integrated resource plan for 2019 to ensure that it remains relevant in the light of the electricity shortfall and our climate change commitments. Now, this is work that is already underway. When the 6th administration commenced its work, we said that forging social compacts across society would be critical to addressing our developmental challenges. Unless, we said, we consistently strive to achieve broad consensus in the direction in which we want to take the country, we will run the risk of our efforts becoming stalled and even becoming diverted. Since 2018, the presidency has established a number of processes to forge consensus on the broader economic recovery, the fourth industrial revolution, the reform of our state-owned enterprises, climate change, and as well as corruption. We also sought to engage at the presidency level with important role players in our country, such as traditional leaders, to address their specific challenges, including the issue of land. We also sought to engage with religious leaders to address the various issues that they brought to the table. The Deputy President has led this process. We'll report further on the work that he has been doing. Deputy President has also been engaged and has been delegated to deal with the long-standing challenges that an important community in our country has raised over and over, and these are the former liberation combatants, the people who fought for the liberation of our country, regarding the problems that they have continued to experience. And the Deputy President may well touch on this as he speaks. Now, bringing together key stakeholders with varying ranges of expertise ultimately enhances the capacity of the state. This continues to aid the policy-making process in our country. It ensures that all of society is involved in our country's development. It ensures that those who are able to make a contribution also feel part of the process of building our nation. An example of how this is being done effectively is through the Presidential Climate Change Commission, which is currently finalizing a just transition framework that will guide our transition to a low-carbon, inclusive, climate-resilient economy as well as society. Now we've brought a whole range of key role players who are making a contribution on our climate change ambitions. In tandem, the Presidential Climate Finance Task Team that I established earlier this year is working at an expert level on the agreement that will take forward the Just Energy Transition Partnership, which was concluded between South Africa and governments of France, Germany, the United States, and the United Kingdom, as well as the European Union last year. Now, these are important processes that bring together, I would say, the brain power of our nation, collectively, both in government, in the private sector, and labor, and a number of other key role players. This partnership will mobilize climate finance to enable transition to a low-carbon economy while supporting affected workers and communities. And the work that they are doing will finally be brought to Parliament so that we, as the important key lawmakers, will be able to examine precisely what they have been working on. Our focus will be on supporting a just transition in the electricity and automotive sectors, as well as the development of our green hydrogen sector, which in many ways is beckoning. It's calling us to embrace it and to get involved in a much more proactive manner. The work of the Presidential SOE Council is also far advanced. The Council has as its members people from labor, from business, from government, from academia, and many other sectors in our community, in our country. The Council has developed criteria to determine which SOEs should be considered strategic and which are critical for the future development of our country. It has also assessed 17 SOEs and will complete the remaining assessments by July of this year. The broader context of the reform process is to improve the overall business operating environment and to improve our country's competitiveness as an investment destination. To this end, we have finalized the Bounce Back Loan Scheme, which gives additional funding to businesses to grow the economy and also to create jobs. In March, the employee tax incentive was expanded to make it easier for employers to hire more young people. You may recall that this initiative has been hugely successful in creating jobs for young people, for first-time work seekers. And many companies are now expected to participate in this in larger numbers, as it has proven to be a very efficient scheme indeed. As part of our drive to create a new generation of Black industrialists, to create jobs and to transform the economy, last year government approved 2.5 billion in new support to about 180 Black industrialists in the form of loans as well as grants. Over the next 3 years, a further 21 billion rand has been committed to support Black industrialists, an additional 25 billion to support Black, women, youth, and worker-owned enterprises. Policy certainty in the mining sector has been bolstered by the publication of the long-awaited Mining Exploration Strategy. Now, the Infrastructure Office continues with its work of oversight and coordination over a number of catalytic infrastructure projects and is seeking to ensure that bankable projects come to life and that we speed up the process of ensuring that infrastructure projects do actually get implemented. And these include the bridge rural building process in the rural areas. This also includes rural roads. This also includes social infrastructure, bulk water installations, and others. To address onerous bureaucracy that often impedes businesses from growing, the red tape reduction team that I spoke about during SONA is working with other departments in government to identify priority interventions as well as to remove obstacles to growth. Now, in many ways, the bureaucracy, the red tape, has been what is holding back the growth of small and medium enterprises and more broadly, our economy as well. Now, these initiatives take a collaborative and supportive approach because ultimately it is the departments and not the presidency that implement policy. Now we are seeing more and more collaborative work in various government departments. The mentality of doing things on their own sake as departments is beginning to whittle away, as departments now see that the best way to achieve success is to work collaboratively with others. One of the tasks of government is to devise innovative solutions to address joblessness, particularly in a climate where there is a shortage of employment opportunities, at a time when the private sector is not creating enough jobs at scale. During the past 2 years, we have overseen an expansion of public employment that is unprecedented in speed, scale, and innovation. And granted, this started during COVID, and COVID created an opportunity for innovation and an opportunity for better coordination amongst government departments. The presidential employment stimulus has enabled the rapid expansion of public employment and provided much needed relief to mitigate the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. To date, the presidential employment stimulus has created 879,000 opportunities, and largely to young people, to women, in a variety of areas. Of the participants across both phases, 84% are youth and 62% are women. Now, these programs, which range from work such as waste collection to small-scale farming, have provided work and an income for hundreds of thousands of people in both the urban and rural areas. The program has provided livelihood support to people working in the arts and culture space as part of our commitment to support recovery in this vital sector of our economy and our society. It is a great boost for food security and agricultural reform. Around 65,000 small-scale farmers have received input vouchers to buy seeds, fertilizers, and equipment. And I'm told that this has freed many thousands of hectares from just lying fallow to being hectares of land where there is agricultural activity. The latest program to be launched through the employment stimulus is the Social Employment Fund, which has started to recruit some 50,000 participants in community safety, food and nutrition, digital inclusion, and sports and arts and recreation. A further 50,000 participants will be recruited for the revitalized National Youth Service, of which more than 7,000 have already started work. Now, though much has been achieved and done, it is clear that we do need to do more. Working together with the private sector, we should be able to do much more. With a special COVID-19 social relief of distress grant extended until the end of March of 2023, as government, we continue to explore what sustainable social protection measures can be implemented to support society's most vulnerable people. We are working in earnest to conclude our negotiations on a social compact. As stated during the State of the Nation address, the discussions that we are having with social partners are dealing with difficult issues that need to be addressed, that have wide-ranging implications for our economy. We are hoping to build a new consensus that pairs economic reform with measures to support employment and expand social protection as well. We are determined that the social compact that we are seeking to build will be substantial as well as meaningful, and that it should make a real and lasting difference in the trajectory of our economy as well. Now, honorable members, our experience with the COVID-19 pandemic has shown how much can be achieved when all of society works together to achieve a common goal. Thanks to this collaborative effort, we were able to mitigate the pandemic's worst effects on human health as well as livelihoods. We are one of those countries that were able to navigate our way through the pandemic rather well. We could have done better, but we do rank amongst those countries that did a lot better than others. To date, approximately half of all adult South Africans have received at least one COVID-19 vaccine dose, and our priority is to increase the rate of vaccination to protect our people against possible new waves in the future. There has been vaccine hesitancy across our country and indeed across our continent. But we remain hopeful that more and more of our people will be willing to get vaccinated. But I do once again want to encourage our people to vaccinate against COVID-19, to wear masks, and to follow all the preventative measures. Over the past 3 years, we've been at the forefront of advocacy as a country for developing countries to manufacture their own vaccines in the interest of current and future health security. And when we talk about vaccines, we're not only talking about COVID-19 vaccines, but all types of vaccines. As we know, South Africa, alongside India, has co-sponsored a proposal to the World Trade Organization for a temporary waiver of the TRIPS agreement. We're using our position as African Union COVID-19 champion to encourage developed countries and international agencies who procure vaccines to purchase vaccines from African manufacturers. South Africa has been hard at work within the AU structures to advance the cause of greater pandemic preparedness for our continent. This includes strengthening public health institutions, expanding manufacturing of medical countermeasures on the continent, establishing a fit-for-purpose health workforce on the continent that can sustain universal health coverage, and also driving collaborative partnerships right across the continent. Even as we focus on recovery from the pandemic, we continue to work with the Department of Health and other departments towards strengthening our health systems in preparation for the national health insurance. As a nation, we are making progress in moving this transformative legislation to reduce inequality in access to quality health care. Now, as we move forward, we strive to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. And in this regard, there is no room for engendering corruption. We will continue to support the work of the Investigating Directorate for the National Prosecuting Authority. We already see great progress in the work that they are doing. The Special Investigating Unit and its Special Tribunal, the Fusion Center, and all state entities involved in the fight against corruption is gaining traction. The SIU is achieving great success in its applications to the SIU Tribunal for the cancellation of contracts and the return of funds. We will be ensuring that the recommendations contained in all SIU reports are specifically and systematically processed and sent to the respective entities to which findings have been made, and urging that they are acted upon and that stolen funds from the state and taxpayers are recovered. The Minister in the Presidency has been reporting on this work to this House on a continuous basis. We will further and speedily consider all requests for issuing of proclamations and appointments to the tribunal where necessary. As we have said before, the Presidency will deliver to Parliament an implementation plan on the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, 4 months after receipt of the final report. Already, work has begun on the large number of recommendations that were made in parts of the report that we have already received to date. We will only have the full measure of the work required when we receive the final report from the Chief Justice. Taking these recommendations forward requires the highest political will and commitment from all of us, the members of this House included. It also requires great courage from all of us. In recent days, we have seen those who stand to lose the most from the fight against corruption resorting to dirty tricks and intimidation in a bid to get us back down. Now, the serious threat leveled at the Director General in the Presidency is deplorable and is indicative of the tricks that they want to use to discourage us from proceeding with the work that has to be done. And we condemn this. Now, it is a sign of the lengths to which these who have been responsible for state capture are prepared to go, to even threaten a woman in the way that she has been threatened. But we will not be deterred by threats of any kind whatsoever. She remains courageous and resolute to continue doing her work. And we wish her well as she carries on with her work. They will have to pay for their actions. We will restore the values, yes, of integrity and credibility to our government. We will take back our country from criminals. At the same time, we are giving equal attention to safety and security in our communities as well. I want to commend the leader of the United Democratic Movement, General Bantu Holomisa, for initiating the recent meeting between the presidency and political parties represented in Parliament to discuss safety and security issues in the country. Honorable Steenhuisen, who was traveling somewhere in Africa, in Somaliland, was also able to join this meeting virtually. It was a proactive engagement in which we were able to discuss the challenges and possible solutions with leaders of political parties that are represented here. And I'd like to thank them for the various suggestions that they put on the table for us to act on. It is our expectation that as Parliament, you will continue in this collaborative vein when we soon reflect on the draft national security strategy that is being drafted at the moment. I have committed that I'll continue to meet the leaders of political parties on a regular basis to discuss issues of security and indeed a number of other issues that are of common concern to all of us. Progress has been made in building capacity within the law enforcement agencies, the appointment of a new commissioner of police has brought much needed stability in the organization. The first cohort of 12,000 new police personnel is in training at the moment, and that framework has also been developed by the SAPS for the nationwide re-establishment of community policing forums, and also the establishment of specialist units that are going to deal with various areas of greater criminal activity. The SAPS has established disciplinary units to address these crimes of economic sabotage and extortion at construction sites by so-called business forums as well. Partnerships between the government and the private sector to address organized crime are beginning to bear fruit. For example, the collaboration between Transnet and the Minerals Council around illegal mining and copper theft has seen an improvement in the security situation at a number of sites. A stronger, better capacitated South African police service is key to combating crimes of violence against women and children that continue to be a real scourge in our country. In January this year, I signed into law 3 bills, as we know, that will strengthen the fight against gender-based violence and afford greater protection for the survivors. Their implementation is scheduled for the 31st of July 2022, once the amended regulations are tabled in Parliament. The Presidency continues to receive regular reports from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, as well as other departments, on the progress that is being made in implementing the National Strategic Plan to end gender-based violence and femicide. Putting stringent laws in place and enhancing the capacity of the police and prosecutorial services to investigate and prosecute these crimes is not enough, and we need all of society's involvement in preventing gender-based violence. If we all, as communities, act together, we will be able to overcome gender-based violence. Community-based organizations are agents of change and play an important role in the efforts to eradicate GBV and other social ills as well. This includes the development and implementation of programs around gender-based violence and femicide, substance abuse, teenage pregnancies, mental health, and also the LGBTQI+ advocacy and other issues. We will soon be convening a social sector summit together with the Department of Social Development and NEDLEC to look at a number of ways of harnessing the important work of the social sector to propel our nation's development. Through the Presidential Working Group on Disability, we will also continue to advance interventions that are needed to promote the inclusion of persons living with disabilities across all sectors. The approval by Cabinet of the Constitutional 8th Amendment Bill for public comment takes us one step further to making the sign language South Africa's 12th official language. Now, this is a historic development that will give effect to our Constitution's promise of equality and human dignity for all South Africans. Honorable members, next month marks a year since the terrible unrest and violence rocked parts of our country and wiped out approximately 50 billion rand of our nation's economy. As the presidency, we are working with the respective departments to coordinate the implementation of the recommendations of the expert panel chaired by Professor Sandy Africa. A new Director General was appointed to the State's Security Agency earlier this year, and a number of critical vacancies have been filled and are in the process of being filled in the SSA, Criminal Intelligence, and also the SAPS. 4,000 members have been earmarked to build capacity in the public order policing unit once they have undergone basic training and for the financial year 2022 and 2023. A further 5,000 trainees will also be recruited so that we can bolster up our public policing component. The National Security Council is receiving periodic reports from the relevant law enforcement agencies on progress with regard to implementation of the recommendations that were made by the expert panel. We will be reporting to the nation in due course on this process as we move on, so as to infuse confidence amongst our people that security is being upgraded and so that South Africans can feel safe as well. As part of realizing a capable state, we are on a drive to rebuild public service through promoting lifelong learning, through the improvement of the skills in the public service and providing the necessary orientation to entrance to public service. This is happening across government departments in every municipality, in every state-owned enterprise, and every organ of state as well. We are doing this so that we can improve the capacity of the state. We are working to ensure that the Batupili revitalization strategy is fully implemented. We have established a public administration ethics, integrity, and disciplinary technical assistance unit to improve ethical and anti-corruption policy and discipline management within the public service. Public servants are being trained on ethical conduct through the National School of Government in partnership with the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. The National School of Government is rolling out a range of courses for the executive, accounting officers, senior managers, mayors, state entity board members, and a number of other disciplines as well, from economic governance to long-range or long-term planning as well. In the State of the Nation address, I said we would finalize the national framework towards the implementation of professionalization of the public sector. The revised framework proposes fundamental reforms and changes, including a stronger emphasis on merit-based recruitment and appointments, integrity testing before any individual joins the public sector, revising the tenure of heads of departments, and curriculum development for ongoing learning of public servants. Now, this is a fundamental change to the approach that we have to professionalizing the public service. We expect this framework to be fully implemented across departments and state entities within the next year. An intrinsic part of government working for the people is making local government more responsive and more efficient. We began implementing the district development model in 2019 to better coordinate and integrate the planning and budgeting of government programs on a district-based level. We coordinated much of our response to the pandemic through the district development model, ensuring that crucial health and social services reach the people in our communities, particularly where they live. Most recently, we relied on the district champions that I appointed to drive vaccinations through the Vuma vaccination weekends. I announced during the 2022 SONA that I would embark on a program of district development model in Bezos. Now, these engagements afford communities the opportunity to raise their most pressing concerns and provides an opportunity for government to give direct updates on service delivery and to hear the complaints and the cries of our people at first hand. To date, the presidential imbizos have been held in Northwest, Free State, and in Mpumalanga, and we intend to visit all the provinces in due course. While we proceed with the Imbizo program in the remaining 6 provinces, government officials will be attending to the concerns that have been made by our people, which have been properly documented, and we will be resolving the issues that our people have raised, providing feedback to communities as well. Now, these engagements have further highlighted the extent of the weaknesses of local government and the impact that this has on the provision of basic services. As national government guided by our constitutional responsibilities and powers, we will continue to support municipalities to meet their obligations to the residents of the various towns and local areas so that we are able to enable them to provide services and to help and engender the process of growing the economies at local level. In particular, we will marshal all the resources and capabilities of government departments and entities to intervene in areas. Both figures are beginning to speak for themselves, and of course we want them to be much higher than what has been reported so far. And as the steady uptake of domestic and foreign investment takes place, we should begin to see the growth that we all yearn for in our economy to take place. The state is being steadily rebuilt, and credibility is also being restored in the state. The fight against corruption continues apace, and the net is closing on those who for years fed off from the money and resources meant for the benefit of the South African people. It is they who fear the renewal agenda most, and they will do anything to divert the focus from themselves. But we will not waver. We will not blink, and we will finish what has been started. And as we do so, we will not be able to allow being sidetracked from the one objective to improve the lives of the people of South Africa. Now, the positive impact of programs and policies of this administration is being felt where it matters most. It is being felt in our classrooms, where education assistants are supporting teachers to perform their work, and these assistants are young, they are techno-savvy, they are committed to the work that they've been given, and they know their IT processes, they are assisting young people to read, and the literacy coding and childcare processes are proceeding apace. It is also being felt in the agricultural sector, where thousands of small-scale farmers are looking forward to a good harvest this year, thanks to the support of the Presidential Employment Stimulus which has enabled them to revive land for food production and to farm their livestock. The positive impact is also being felt and will continue being felt in our cities, in our towns and villages, where participants in the presidential employment stimulus are greening public spaces, collecting and recycling waste, clearing alien invasive vegetation, and conducting environmental education programs. It is also being felt in the tourism sector, where monitors, many of them young people, are helping to keep our foreign and domestic tourists safe at key sites, and SMMEs in the provinces are receiving support to promote local tourist attractions. We are a government that is hard at work to grow our economy and to create jobs, and our hard work is beginning to bear fruit. The presidency will continue to lead the work towards the vision of a better life for all, as well as an economic reconstruction and recovery that leaves no one behind. We are working, and of course, we want to do much more than what is being done, and we will continue to do so. It is therefore a pleasure, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, to hereby commend this budget vote of the presidency to the National Assembly for debate and discussion and proposals on how we can improve our work. Thank you very much.
Long live the president.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Order.